Hey everyone, my guest today is Jen Schriever, who is the 2026 Tony Award-winning lighting designer for The Lost Boys, an honor she shared with her co-lighting designer Michael Arden, who also directed The Thing. She's also received two nominations for Tonys and other things, actually, for her lighting design of A Strange Loop and Death of a Salesman on Broadway and in the West End. Her work includes Art, Glengarry, Glen Ross, Eureka Day, Lackawanna Blues, What the Constitution Means to Me, and so many others. Please just Google so I can spend my precious time talking to this glorious artist. Her work as a designer also includes off-Broadway, regional theater, opera. She's worked all over the globe. She's also an adjunct professor at SUNY Purchase, where my son is in the jazz program, so I know that campus well. Welcome, welcome, Jen, to the podcast. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks. It's nice to
I
be here.
mean, it's so amazing because you've been nominated and won so many awards and nominated for Tonys before. But I imagine as much as being a nominee is such a glorious thing, can you just, since it's still fresh, can you take us back to Tony Night 2026 and just walk us through it a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to win. Also, like I'm not a natural public speaker or like it's scary. Like I sit behind the tech table in the dark. That's the comfortable place to be. The craziest thing is they had me sat in the front row, which in my two previous nominations, they usually put the lighting designers like way in the back on the aisle. And we were all the designers were really close this year. And I was like right at the bottom of the house right stairs. Oh, I don't know if you can hear my street noise. I'm in Chicago and it's alive
I love it.
outside if you
We're
can hear
celebrating we're celebrating the
it.
hits in Chicago as well.
Yes,
It's
yes,
great
yes,
people.
exactly.
Yeah. Great.
But it
So,
was it was wild to just be so close, but before even winning, like just be right in the front, which was electric and incredible. And then to win, and it's like I don't want to trip. I don't want to like say, it's hard to it's hard to remember what to say, and of course there's still I'm still like obsessing, like I didn't say certain things, but it's fine, everything's fine. it's
yeah.
it's it's amazing, the energy is insane, it's a really incredible high to
Well, Pink is
experience
an
that.
extraordinary host. Pink, I thought, killed it. And for you to be so close to all of those musical numbers and see all of the performers
Totally.
in your face like that, I can't even imagine. Like, talk about a front row seat to like glory and then to be a
Totally.
part of it in that way. I want to talk about this idea of, in the world of theater lovers and people who somehow found theater at a young age, you and I are both from New Jersey. So we did have the proximity when you live in, you know, close proximity to New York. You do get to see a lot of things. Were you a kid going to see a lot of theater growing up?
Yeah, so my parents weren't like theater folks. And it really, it's funny. I was thinking about it this morning. Like, I, realized my way in was my parents' divorce, which I think is like a typical way into theater, like just looking for a place to be. So it wasn't really till I hit high school, freshman year of high school, there was like a robust theater family, theater group in my high school. And all the seniors and juniors were going into the city all the time to see shows. So then I just started taking myself, or going with the older kids. And it's so fun. My mom used to be like, I know you're drinking or whatever, like, what are you doing in the city? And I'm like, I was at the public seeing, the new David Henry Hwang play, like I was seeing everything at the public. Um, and that's really actually how I fell in love. My mentor is Brian McDevitt, and he was really working a ton off Broadway when I was in high school, and he had just started doing Broadway. So I was seeing all of his work, and I recognized like this is something I'm really interested in.
How did you,
Yeah,
okay, couple of follow-up questions.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah.
uh, how did you have a mentor at such a young
Mm.
age? in a very specific discipline that you obviously did not grow up in, and sort of how
True.
did all of these things kind of come together?
Yeah. So what I left out is like in the high school, there was a lighting designer. There was a man who was like a local, he was a stagehand at the Meadowlands, and he was
Wow.
also really an artist. Like he taught at the community college. He was sort of a jack of all trades, and he was a real artist. His name was Jared Saltzman. And so when I knew I wasn't going to be an actor when I found the theater. Like I never even tried. But I was immediately able to see lighting as an option. And I wasn't a carpenter. Most people, kids like built the set or did
Right,
stage management.
right.
I knew I was immediately interested in what he was doing. So I recognized lighting pretty much at 14. And so then when I was starting to go into the city to see shows, I was watching lighting, and that's when I recognized Brian. So I took a little path, random path to eventually go to SUNY Purchase myself, which is where Brian was sort of teaching at the time. So
Oh,
I, sort of stalked him. Not really, like I was like, that's the guy I want to learn from.
yes,
And thankfully, we hit it off as, um, like in our own collaborative relationship as like a young designer. And he hired me to be his assistant, and then I became his associate. And now we're friends. And he's a huge supporter.
so
And
incredible. When you were 14, when
yeah,
you,
yeah.
it's very rare that people at such a young age end up doing the thing professionally for decades, right? At this point. So what was it? I mean, you said you kind of knew right away that performing and even how shy you felt to just get up and accept this award for your glorious work. But what was it, if you think back to that time, that was like this initial instinct for this work that still kind of gives you joy, even at this level that you're working at now?
Yeah, I think in high school, what it was, especially at like the young, early high school, what really like grabbed me, and I'm not trying to diss anybody, but like in high school in particular, our sets weren't that like, they were, we students in my high school, students made everything. There were
Right.
adult guides, obviously there was the adult lighting designer and an adult set designer, but we did all the work. So, it wasn't like the most well crafted, it's a good intention. And I think I was always this artist, Jared, who was the lighting designer, could make it look amazing. He could transform and control I was just immediately drawn by how you could control the eye, composition, create the mood without physical objects.
Right.
It was like painting. And yeah, it was really interesting to me. And I loved the psychology of lighting. So I think I just immediately was taken by that. And thankfully, I do it now for a living because it's all I know how to do. I don't think I could do anything else.
Well, thank goodness it worked out. But
Yeah,
when you look back, I mean, the world is so different now, just the way in which people can connect. Like you can DM someone you're a fan of, and often they'll like write back to you. But when you think back to sort of mentorship at the beginning of your career, who the people were who mentored were you, and who you mentor now, what do you see are the differences in terms of like when you started out and now when you meet young people who you are happy to help?
totally. I mean, I think part of it is like things are just faster now. Like for example, I recognized Brian I was watching all the off-Broadway designers in my, 4 years in high school and my few years after where I was on my own little path. So I recognized it took me like 6 years to get to Brian, like
Right,
I
right.
recognized him as a person I was interested in, and I tracked him down to the school he was teaching at. I applied, I went, I knocked on the door, so it took time, like
Yeah,
years to
yeah.
to get to get to him. And you're right, like now I get emails, I am also a mom. I have a 9-year-old. So email is hard. Like just responding sometimes to the volume of messages is tricky. And, I'm like, wow, instant connection sometimes is hard to maintain. But I appreciate, you know, what I love when I get messages from folks is like their personal self story, when it's something, instead of like a formal introduction. I'm more interested in you as a human, and, we can connect um in a more, I want to say messy, but I don't mean messy, just like a real way instead of
Cool.
like a
Yeah,
job application.
yeah.
Um Especially when I guess that's turning this into advice, like just be yourself, because like there are folks are the amount of volume of connection possibilities is, you know,
It's vast.
huge right
And to
now.
break,
Yeah.
right? And to
Yeah.
break through, it's like getting through the sound barrier to the person I mean,
Yes.
especially now. But really, you've been building and building and building. I wonder if you, because I am fascinated, like I wish I had more of a visual artist talent, right? Like that isn't, I draw the same way I did when I was very young. Like I haven't progressed in certain ways, but I always love to sort of think about like if I were to take your class, I don't know if you still teach anymore with your
Oh
scheduling.
yeah.
But
I
you still
teach.
do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So if you think about like someone coming in with a passion for something and a curiosity, how do you start? Like what happens on the first day of someone taking like lighting design 101?
Yeah.
What are the things that you sort of like to open up the conversation and a way of looking at the world through this lens? What do you talk about?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. A lot of it is like stuff I've internalized from learning from Brian, and really it starts with lighting is very hard because you're doing it when you're doing lighting, when you're actually making it beyond the paperwork and the light plot and all that, you're doing it for the first time in front of a room of everybody. The set had a model, and the costumes could have been built in advance and adjusted in rehearsal with the actors,
Oh,
and the sound cues you can listen to. And yes, there are now digital ways to sort of represent lighting, but none of it is really very accurate, or it's a tool, not necessarily uh, a way of showing. So what lighting is in preparation to that first day when you're working all together in the theater is words. You're describing and research. So we look at a lot of art together and describe what we see. Is the moonlight you see, is Willie Loman's moonlight that he's coming home to in Brooklyn at the top of Death of a Salesman, like, is how do you and the director in words talk about and describe what that moonlight is, so you can prepare the right experience for that, we're all intending to have. Is there any moon? Even, is it just a
yeah.
street light? Like
Right.
what and why? So figuring out how to talk about a play, how to talk with a director, and how to create like this the world, even just with words and adjectives, is is sort of how we start. And then
Wow.
how you talk about the play turns into the light plot, which turns into the light cues. So, if you're talking about it being oppressive, or are we floating, or is there an expanse? Is there scale? Is there a need for scale? Is there a need for movement? How is the playwright and the director talking about the play? All those adjectives turn into the light plot. So we start with talking about the play, really.
Like there's Miller's moon, there's the director's moon, and then there's your moon, and
Right.
what's the moon? Um, when you first started out, were you using pencil and paper to do plots, and now
Yes.
has technology become your friend as you have progressed in your career?
Totally. I mean, similar to anything, it's like, the more technology we have, the more everything we have, the more meetings we have, the more changes we can accommodate, the more, specific you can get in a way. especially in a shorter amount of time. So yeah, I mean, I learned hand drafting, with the scale rule and a pencil, and we were forbidden from the computer. Like Vectorworks was just coming into play, but we were forbidden from using it, and in school. And now it's really intense. It can be really high tech. I rely on associates. I actually hate drafting, so I
Yeah.
rely on
Isn't it
on my
nice to have help? Yep.
yes, yes.
Totally. Totally.
I rely on a rock star associate to like really make sure it's all together. But you can be really nimble and fast and adjust quickly. Sometimes too nimble, depending on,
The person in project.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you describe the difference because you've used the word assistant and associate, and I'm just curious,
Hmm.
people listening, I mean, everyone's going to listen to this and then just walk around the world just more in tune to lighting, which is cool. That's great. There are people who are like, oh, I might want to do this. So what's an assistant?
Yeah.
What is an associate?
Yeah. I mean, assistant is usually where you start, and associate is sometimes, I would say most people eventually graduate from assistant to associate, but you can be a career associate for the rest of your life. And some associates want to move on to be a principal designer. What an associate is like a high level specialized, especially an associate lighting designer. They are so deeply embedded in the creation of the piece, not just in lighting, but how the technical elements of the set and automation, and for example, in like Lost Boys, if there's flying, they are so aware and staying on top of how the whole puzzle fits together. So when I'm a little bit one-sided in the lighting dreams, they can really get in the nitty-gritty of how these things fit together.
Right.
And an assistant is I mean, very basically, like on a musical, an assistant is usually calling follow spots, but
Yeah.
they're not in the high level necessarily of the creation of the design, though they are so important, and often designing the follow spots because everybody needs, there's no time for everybody to do everything.
Right.
Um, but it's their major, major, massively important roles. And that's how I started. I started as an assistant. It's funny, I'm here in Chicago doing Ice Boy, the musical, and the director is Mark Bruni, who I went to high school with. He was a senior when I was a freshman, and we both were assistants on the Christina Applegate Sweet Charity. So, like, we were just reminiscing, it's just how this industry and
I just read her memoir, and there's a lot about
oh,
that production in
I
there.
should read it.
Yeah.
I should read it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's an
She was
incredible
lovely.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's harrowing and inspiring
Yes.
in equal
Yes.
parts. Her whole life, as it turns out. Um,
Yes.
so yes, and that's Megan Mullally and Nick Offerman, right? Like
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
getting to do a musical together. That's awesome.
It's very silly. It's very funny. It's the opposite of Lost Boys. It's pure, pure, like weird joy.
We need
It's
your joy.
yeah.
But we
Yeah.
need
I
like
really like it. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to talk about the unusualness of a director of a musical. It is often that a director of a musical who is also a choreographer does both. That is something we see. Shmigadoon is a perfect example, also winning on your night. But Michael directed your musical, and he was a co-lighting designer on this. And so, did you guys work? Have you worked together before over the years? And how did this become the decision for this particular massive, incredible musical?
Yeah. We had worked together before in the traditional sense, never as co-designer. This was our first co-design, and probably, yeah, I mean, my first time ever co-designing with the director, and probably I think Michael's first time co-designing, maybe. Um, and it came about because he loves lighting. I mean, he really loves lighting, like in a way that I love, like I think there are many directors love lighting. He is unique in that he knows a lot about everything in a way that I've never experienced with directors. Like he is so in. the process. So when he asked me to do the show, he asked if I would be open to him being the co-designer. And I was down with it. I don't know. I'm like, if you want to do it, let's do it. And it was, I mean, I keep coming back to like, it was really fun. Like, it was not that lighting is lonely, of course, like you're in a room collaborating with everybody, but he really like showed up. It's funny, I don't even have words to describe it. I've been asked this a lot. Like, doesn't the director get involved in the lighting naturally? Isn't there direction? How is it different than just being a director?
Right.
But no, we got in the nitty gritty together. I mean, like we would put our foreheads together and be in the lighting, like making choices together and to bounce, to have someone, separately from the director, though, yes, he is the director. To
Right.
to be focused on the lighting with was the most fun. I would do it again, not just with anybody, but I would easily do it again. Like we pushed each other, we explored ideas that like, he'd follow a thread and I would build on it, or I would follow a thread and he'd build on it. So it ended up being unusual. I mean, we're working together again in the spring in the traditional sense. So I'm not sure we're
Yeah.
going to be a lighting design duo forever, but I would do it again in a heartbeat. Like it was a massive beast. And to have that feedback very directly, he took it very seriously to be the co-lighting designer. So he was with me every morning. Like we were together in the early mornings, working, all the time. And I really valued it. It was surprisingly like 10 times more fun and joyful than I could have anticipated. Yeah.
I mean, I think about like I loved What the Constitution Means to Me,
Oh,
another
yeah.
another piece you worked on, and just thinking about like the nature of the design of that play. And it's not a complete solo show, but it feels like a solo show with like wonderful actors coming in to support Bess in her work. And then The Lost Boys, which is like that your incredible head has a way to like sort of do these really intimate things and these huge Broadway musicals. It must be incredibly fun to get to switch around and just explore these very different kinds of work and plays as
Yeah.
which are a whole other
That,
different sort of thing.
yeah, that would be my dream, is that I get to continue to do that, like to do a massive thing, to do a new play downtown. Like, I never want to stop those things. Like some of my favorite things started at the Wild Project in the East Village, and I don't want that to be over. Like I love those projects so much. I did a transport group project of with Dane, of Strange Interlude. David Greenspan, one man Strange Interlude
That
at Irondale in Brooklyn. I mean, it ended up being massive, but it's my top three, one of my most favorite projects I've ever done. And like, I hope I
it
get to continue to do work like that. Yeah.
Dane was on the show recently too. I mean, I just feel like there is this very exciting generation of designers who are very collaborative and forming this really beautiful community, and that is very special.
I mean, that's what, it's funny. I think like sometimes with the co-director designer thing, people are like, feel defensive of me as a designer. And I'm like, not to be like holier than thou. Like, I really don't have an ego about it. Like, I felt so excited to work with Michael and see where his brain would lead us. And also that room, producers, not to be like, like the whole room, writers, designers, director, actors, production management. It was one of the most collaborative rooms I've been in a lot. Like for such a big show, you'd
Yeah.
expect someone to snap or someone to panic, or and we all listened to. Of course there were moments of like sadness, but it's just any.
Oh,
but
yeah.
but for the most part, it like my takeaway from that experience is how open everybody was. We were all pushing towards the same goal, so it was everybody just trusted each other. Notes came, we all gave each other notes in the way that you wish It always was. It was really special and made me hopeful that like you could do a big thing um with
With
lots of voices. Yeah.
yeah, the
And
kindness, like with
yeah.
kindness at the center.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I imagine, I mean, can you tell us what this isn't going to air for a little bit? Do you know when your spring show is being announced officially?
Yes. Wait, I think it's been announced. Hold on. Let me
Okay.
just check. I'm like
Okay.
Googling it right now.
Okay.
um yeah, yeah, we're doing yes. We're doing The Interestings, new Sarah Bareilles musical at Berkeley Rep in January, February.
Uh, I
So
love the
hopefully we'll come to New York, but I'm really excited to spend the winter in Berkeley. Yeah.
well, that is a project that everyone is really looking forward to. I
Yeah.
mean, Jen Schriever, you're killing it. And a 9-year old. Let's just add that in. Um,
Yep.
I'm so grateful for all the beauty that you've put into the world and that I get to live at a time where I get to walk into a theater and if I see your name in the program, I know that I'm going to be transported uh, in a way that is really special and unique. And you're so talented and I am just so happy that you get to do what you love to do with people you love working with. And I know it's hard and you are juggling so much, and you probably know what you are doing for years to come at this point, which is such a crazy, wild thing. When I think of you at Ridgewood High and then like going to the public theater and then coming out in this way where you just keep making beautiful work and inspiring a whole new generation of people to do it. So thank you as a theater lover.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
so,
so kind. Thanks for
so
that.
true. Before I let you go, I don't know if they warned you, but it is called Little Known Facts. Do you have a little known fact that you can share about you?
Yeah, it's so funny. I realized and remembered I was meant to have or like there might be a little known fact needed until like 20 minutes before we logged on. So I panic. It's like when you're asked like what restaurant should I eat in the West Village, and I'm like, I've
Yeah.
never eaten in Manhattan ever. I don't know, you know.
What's food? What?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
So
know.
the
Sorry.
so the so the only fact that is so banal that I could come up with is a really it's that I have two baby teeth in my mouth.
That's the secret. That's the little bit of genius.
Right.
That's what happened. It's the
Yes,
baby.
I'm a mom. I am a full-fledged human that has been on this earth for decades, and two of my teeth have been with me the whole time.
That's really sweet. That's amazing. There are going to be a whole group of people going to the dentist, like with their teeth, saying, "Put them back in. I want a Tony." Um, Tony Award Jen Schriever, thank you. You are a winner in all the ways. Thank you for being on the podcast, and here's to more in the future.
Thanks. So nice to chat.
So nice to chat. Have the best day, and congrats again.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome. Bye.